Good afternoon. I'm Aleksandra, Klitina, journalist with Kyiv Post. Today with us, Olena Honcharuk, acting director of Dovzhenko Center, the largest film archive, working on preservation, restoration, research, and promotion Ukrainian cinema abroad. Good afternoon.
Hello.
What is happening on cultural front during the war?
Of course, for the first time when we just met war invasion from Russia, it was shock. It was a lot of sadness, pain, and angry, and it still continues. And of course, these feelings and emotions, they touch not only warriors who defend Ukraine, but it concerns all Ukrainian citizens and, of course, people of culture. This war, it's a big shock for institutions which work for culture, and we should switch to another regime, to war schedule, I would say. And I think that we needed just 1 week to understand ourselves and to return to work. After first week, Ukrainian filmmakers, Ukrainian film institutions, for example, started to communicate actively with our foreign partners, as far as we have wide nets of film institutes, film museums, culture centers all over the world. They were very active in asking and in asking us what help do we need and what kind of support. And we thought that first of all, to get any help, we have to say more about what Ukraine is, who Ukrainian people are. And it was 2 parallel tasks: to understand ourselves and to tell the world about Ukraine.
In particular, what events are held in support of Ukraine abroad?
As for our film archive, National Aleksandra Dovzhenko National Center, or Dovzhenko Center, we made about 50 events in different countries, for example, in Poland, Germany, Finland, United States, Great Britain, Austria, Greece, Turkey, to organize screenings of Ukrainian film classics. They were both films of silent era and also new Ukrainian films, and other institutions who work with cinema. I mean, for example, Ukrainian State Film Agency. They organized a big film marathon all over the world together with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and through screenings, people in other countries, they can see what Ukrainian cinema is. From the avant-garde period, it was 20s of the previous century, and until the newest films that were screened in Cannes Festival.
Could you describe the Ukrainian cinema classic, what it is about, and what are the main ideas?
As every cinema, Ukrainian cinema, I mean cinema of every country or nation, it reflects moods of the society. It shows people, it says about people or different historical events, for example. There were 3 big periods, I would say, in Ukrainian cinematography. The one is when Ukraine was not joined to Russian Empire, and it was period of 20s, from 1920-1930, when Ukrainian cinematography was quite independent. And to this period, from that time, we know Dziga Vertov, Mikhail Kaufman, Aleksandra Dovzhenko, film heritage. It was not only propaganda films, but these movies were very artistic, and they formed the cinematographic language of the Europe, I would say. Now, next period, it was Soviet time. It was period of Ukrainian, when Ukraine was Ukrainian Soviet Republic. And there were many limitations for Ukrainian filmmakers, for example, to tell story of a simple person, of an ordinary man or women. But Ukrainians managed, even in that times under pressure, they managed to to invent so-called poetic cinema. And the brightest representative was Sergei Parajanov, known all over the world with his film Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors. It were films a bit Fantasian, not very linked to ordinary life, but they covered a lot of inner problems, and they were also critical to Soviet regime. And the third time, the third period, it's cinema of independent Ukraine, when Ukraine became independent again in 1991. First, it was difficult period of crisis after the Soviet Union collapse. But last years, we have quite strong film industry, and we make a lot of films about ourselves, and we have many comedies, many stories of ordinary people. So I think that Ukraine moves in the same waves with the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, now contemporary cinema, now it's very necessary to understand who we are and what differs Ukrainians from Russians.
Mm-hmm. What film can be called cult in Ukrainian cinema classics? Which one you would recommend to watch on weekend?
If we take some films from the old times, that could be The Earth film by Aleksandra Dovzhenko. It says a lot about Ukrainians and our strength to protect our motherland. It's quite serious film. I don't know, is it quite good for weekend, but it's quite good for thinking. And from contemporary film, I can recommend the movie Мої думки тихі, or My Thoughts Are Silent, or My Thoughts Are Calm. It's a story about a single woman who is growing up a son, and he's a weird guy who is not very practical, who has a lot of fantasies. He's an idealist. I think it can say a lot about us.
What events and film festivals is the Dovzhenko Center planning abroad?
I know that together with Ukrainian State Film Agency, we offer now film programs around the world, which combine contemporary films and film classics. So our film archive, which works on preservation, and we preserve all Ukrainian film heritage. We gave Shadows of Forgotten Ancestors, I mentioned. We gave White Birds with a black sign, Stone Cross. So we offered these films for the world audience to understand us, and this marathon is going around the world. Now we have some screenings at iMuseum in Amsterdam. They have a big program of Ukrainian films, and now we are in negotiations to make exhibitions about Ukrainian film avant-garde. And I hope that soon there are 2 exhibitions devoted to Ukrainian art, avant-garde, and the Dovzhenko Center will be a part of these events.
Thank you for this interview. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
So do you. Thank you.